So good morning, class. We're going to look at multiplication of matrices. And for you to be able to do multiplication of matrices, you have to bear in mind one very crucial thing: the order of a matrix. For two matrices to be multiplied, you need to identify their order. For instance, if your first matrix is 2 by 3 and the other matrix is 2 by 3 matrix, what happens is you look at this. Once you have added this is the first matrix, this is the second one, so you need to look at this one, meaning the second column versus the first row of the second matrix. If they are not the same, this matrix cannot be multiplied. So I'm saying if two matrices have to be multiplied, then the number of columns in the first matrix must be equal to the number of rows in the second column. I will just write that. For multiplication to be possible, the number of columns in the first matrix must be equal to the number of rows in the second matrix. Failure to which the matrix cannot then be able to be multiplied. So I'm saying you can only be able to multiply two matrices if the number of columns in the first matrix are equal to the number of rows in the second matrix. That is the only condition for which two matrices can be multiplied. Otherwise, they cannot be multiplied. That is the first thing that you need to bear in mind. And if you check, our matrix is a 2 by 2 matrix. The matrices we have in here, it is a 2 by 2 matrix, meaning 2 by 2. Then we are having a 2 by 2 the other side, so meaning these two are the same. So we can now be able to go ahead and multiply, because we are able to have these two being the same. So we need to know the procedure of doing multiplication of matrices. The procedure of carrying out multiplication. The procedure. The first procedure is multiply a row of the first matrix by the multiply a row of the first matrix by the column by the columns of the second matrix. So I'm saying whenever you are carrying out multiplication, you will multiply a row of the first matrix by the columns of the second matrix. So meaning the first row will multiply all the existing columns of the second matrix. Once you are done with that, Roman number 2, repeat the above procedure, but using the second row. Repeat the above procedure but using the second row. The third procedure apply step 1. Step 1 above using the remaining rows. Using the remaining rows. So that is the procedure that you need to undertake whenever you are carrying out multiplication of a matrix. And remember, we are learning this because we need to apply it here and see how it works. So I've said the first procedure, you identify the row of the first matrix, then multiply it across all the columns in the second matrix. Once you are done with the first row, you will now move to the second row. Use the second row on all the columns of the second matrix. You will move to the third row if there is, then apply it across board to the fourth, to the fifth if they do exist. So that is basically what you need to do. So we are now looking at this example so that we can apply the procedure that we have learned. So we are going to do A multiplied by B. Sometimes an examiner can tell you to find A dot B. It is still the same thing. So what you need to do is to take 2, 1, 1, 3, then you multiply it with 1, 0, 4, 1. So what I've said is, the first procedure is to take the first row with the first column and you multiply. So what you will do is, you will take this one, you will multiply it with this. This other one will now be multiplied by 4. So I will take 2 times 1 plus 1 times 4. Once I'm done with that, I can skip some space. Remember I said I'm using row 1, multiplying it with all the columns. So the first row has multiplied the first column. I will now use the first row on the second column. So I'll skip some space and move to the next one. I will be having 2 times 0. Then I will have 1 times 1. 2 times 0, 1 times 1. 1 times 1. Remember, there has to be a plus in between them. So I'm now done with the first row. I've used the first row on all the columns. I will now go to the procedure 2, which said I'm repeating the first step but using the second row. So I will have to take 1 times 1 plus 3 times 4. 3 times 4. I'm now done with the first column. I will now move to the second column where I will have 1 times 0, 3 times 1. So I've now executed all the procedure. What I need to do is to simplify. So I will just have to put this, then I will have to write 2 plus 4. That is 0 plus 1. This is 1 plus 12, 0 plus 3. This will be equal to 6, 1, 13, 3. So we have carried out the multiplication of A multiplied by B. We now want to look at when you multiply B with A. If you are given B dot A, so you have to begin with B. You can write 1, 0, 4, 1, then multiplied by, remember even this I should have put a multiplication. Sometimes people can put a dot. So whichever, you can even put a multiplication there, there is no harm. Multiplied by our A is 2, 1, 1, 3. This will be the same as, so I will take the first row multiplied by this. So I will have 1 times 2, 1 times 2, 0 times 1 plus 0 times 1. I skip some space, I go 1 times 1, then plus 0 times 3. We'll take the next one, which is 4 times 2, and then plus 1 times 1. The next one is 4 times 1, 1 times 3. After that, I can have 1 times 2 is 2 plus 0, 8 plus 1. Remember what I've done, I've simplified this, I've simplified this. I will simplify this as well. 1 plus 0, 4 times 1 is 4, that is 3. The next step will be 2 plus 0 is 2, 1 plus 0 is 1, 9, 7. So I have now gotten the product of A and B with A. As you can see, A times B is not the same as B times A. So whenever you ask any of these, do not confuse, do not mix up the order. Have the order the way it is being arranged, or is how it is being tested. So A times B is not the same as B times A. You can see the answers are not the same. This is A times B, this is a B times A, and this one is A times B. So you can see there is a slight difference between the two. We can move to the last bit of this, whereby if you are told, if for instance you are told to find this, find 2b given b is equals to, given b is equals to, given b is equals to 2197 or 2197. If you are told that you are supposed to find 2b, what happens is you will write the answer with 2b will be the same as 2 into 2197, and this one will be, so the number outside the bracket will multiply all the elements, all the components in the bracket. So meaning you will have 2 times 2, which is 2, which is 4, and then 2 times 1, which is 2, 2 times 9, which is 18, and 2 times this, which is 14. So that is how you multiply that particular question. You can also be told given A is equals to 4, let us have 8, maybe 16. We have 4 there, we have there perhaps 10. That is your matrix. You are told to find a quarter A. If you are told to find a quarter A, what you write A will be equal to a quarter. A quarter A will be equal to this 8, 16, 4, 10. So this will be the same as, you will be having 8 times a quarter, you can even have it as 8 over 4, 16 over 4, and then 4 over 4, 10 over 4. So that now you can simplify it as 8 over 4 is 2, that the other one is 4, this is 1, and this is 5 over 2, or you can put it 2.5, whichever. So that will be your answer to that particular question. So basically that is how you carry out multiplication of matrices, and that brings us to the end of this particular session.